Thanks for joining us. And today we're going to talk about Kriya Yoga and the myth of delusion. So the idea of delusion, or Maya as it is called in Sanskrit, is a very prevalent terminology and understanding in Kriya Yoga, and it really comes from Hinduism. The idea about Maya as being that the phenomenal world is an illusion, if you will, and then if one mistakes the phenomenal world for reality, meaning one's perceptions of what is happening around, identifying with those perceptions as if it is oneself, then you miss the real essence of who one is, the soul or the Atma. And so the idea, originally about Maya as being sort of that distinction between the phenomenal existence and then the consciousness or awareness, the true consciousness of the unfettered soul, if you will. It's kind of evolved. The idea about delusion has evolved, and people have taken it on to kind of almost like a pop culture in certain Kriya Yoga circles, where they talk about everything that happens to them as delusion, right? A lot of this kind of thinking comes out of Self-Realization Fellowship, and which was the organization that was, spread Yogananda's teachings on Kriya Yoga. And so, me having spent, more than a decade in Self-Realization Fellowship, I'm quite familiar with that, and I've had conversations with other devotees about, the challenges of Maya, the challenges of delusion. And so the problem with this idea, it's in essence, where in its original form about, this delusory nature of existence is not necessarily completely incorrect, but the challenge is the way that people use it. And what they tend to use is the concept of delusion as a negation of life, right? A negation of, in particular, challenging circumstances that people may experience in life, right? So here's the challenge, right? Here's the problem with having this concept of delusion, this myth of delusion, is that people tend to reject, some Kriya Yoga schools and some, students will reject the idea about worldly existence, right? And what they will do is they basically look at their sadhana, their spiritual practice, as being, one of the only true things that they can do to help their life be authentic, right? And then to often neglect other aspects of their life, relationships, career, aspirations, you name it, right? Things that we would do and just say, okay, well, I'm having a challenge in life, so that's just delusion. It's not real. God is going to lift me up. The Guru is going to lift me up, and I'm going to be free from all this challenge, right? From all of these things that really I can't deal with. And so when one internalizes the myth of delusion in one's daily activities, an outlook in life, it basically turns one into an attitude of negation, focusing on the negative in life. Now, we all experience challenges, right? No doubt, life is continuously challenging to some capacity, and even when it's not challenging, it's challenging, right? So that is not going to change. But if we have an attitude where everything except for our sadhana, except for our inspired connection with the Guru and God, everything other than that is unreal, we are in for a major, life is going to give us some knocks, right? We won't be able to deal with it. What we want to do is to develop the skills, right? And the forbearance to work on challenging situations, to help to find a way to overcome them or solve problems, issues, personal issues, interrelationship issues, right? You name it. We want to be able to do that. We know that the universe is in a state of flux. Everything changes. Now, it's true that because things are changing, right, it means that things are not necessarily, set in stone, if you will, right, that the world is not a perfect place. It is a dynamic place, right? It is a dynamic process of change. And so I think there's a misconception when people think about delusion or Maya, and the assumption is that because there's phenomenal existence and there's changes in phenomenal existence, that means they're unreal. That is not correct at all. Things that are changing, things that are transitory are real, but they're changing. The world is changing, the universe is changing, everything is changing. You are changing every single moment, right? So the argument that because life is changing, it is unreal is completely unfounded. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with an understanding, hopefully, that the world, everything that we do is dynamic and changing. And what we want to do is to be part of that process. We want to participate fully in that. Now, Kriya Yoga Sadhana is a great way to participate in that changing process, because it becomes this opportunity to go within and to become aware of what we have inside, right? And then, once we've become aware of that, to take steps to change things in a positive way, right? We want, self-realization, or you want, enlightenment or spiritual development, whatever it is. We want that. We can only get that through a process of change. We can't get through that through being static, right? And so this is another erroneous notion, I think, that has crept into, Kriya Yoga and other religions, is the idea that the divine is static, that we want to return to a static awareness, to a static existence. And we don't want that. What we want to do is to be able to change our present circumstances for the better, right? We want spiritual transformation. We don't want spiritual stasis, right? Because if we were stuck in what we are currently, it's like being in a prison. We have this innate impulse to change, right? To get better at something, to try new things, right? And sometimes we do get discouraged, right? So not taking that away, and people can feel stuck, right? But they're stuck in a limitation because they haven't been able to adapt to the situation, right? And that's why practices like Kriya Yoga and Taoist Internal Alchemy, which we teach at Modern Kriya, can be so effective in helping us to navigate the changes. They give us additional skills, right? Kriya Yoga, skills for going within and becoming aware, right, of what is in there, right? Taoist Internal Alchemy, skills for inner transformation, for dealing with things that we haven't been able to resolve, right? Suddenly we have a method and an energetic foundation and support to be able to make those changes, right? Because we want progression. That's what we're inclined to do. That is what is innate within us, right? The universe is continuously changing. It is in a process of flux, right? Evolution, spiritual evolution. We need to do that. So, the idea when people take on that attitude about, oh, life is a delusion, and, the relationships that I have, my work, it doesn't really matter, because really what matters is that I rediscover my soul awareness, and all of this other stuff is just transitory and unreal. Like, that is a delusion. So don't get trapped in that, because I have known people who have been trapped in that. And then what happens is that they end up usually becoming more insular, and then they suffer. Don't go that route, because it is a real impediment for your progress. Now, here's another thing that I think a lot of people in spiritual circles sometimes believe, and that is that your spiritual life can be your entire life. And I would say the integration of your spiritual experiences in your life, meaning everything else, is healthy. That's what we want, is an integration, right? It means that if we have some kind of spiritual realizations and so on, and act that out, we can embody it in our everyday existence. That's what we want. The people who are true spiritual leaders and things, like, they probably don't even talk or think about their spirituality when they're around other people. They care about how they embody what they have learned in their spiritual practice in their everyday life. And what we want to do is to embody our spirituality and use it for the benefit of ourselves and people around us, right? We want to bring that. It's like bringing sort of heaven to earth, if you will, right? You embody the best, and you have the best ways of internal transformation and change, right? You make the change within you, and then it affects everything around you. That's what we want. We want to improve life for everyone, right? Because that's really what embodying the spiritual experience is about, what spiritual life is about. And that's really what Kriya Yoga is about in its essence, right? It isn't about running away from the world. It is about embracing the world, but using strategies for your own empowerment and for the empowerment of others. So if you have any questions about this video, feel free to send me an email at info@modernkriya.com. Also check our website at modernkriya.com and our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.